Discovered sleeping on the job, she transformed a millionaire's life in an amazing love story. Mary Johnson rubbed her eyes, stifling a yawn as she leaned back in her chair at Wellington and Associates. The buzz of laughter and clinking champagne glasses drifted from the conference room, but exhaustion weighed her down. Juggling 3 jobs and 2 kids while maintaining a facade of cheer had left her depleted. Just a moment's peace, she thought, as her eyelids fluttered closed. But then footsteps approached. Mary's heart raced as she felt the familiar presence of James Wellington. The polished partner at the firm, who evoked both reverence and intimidation with his sharp suits and confident demeanor, seemed to have a sixth sense for her weakest moments. Peeking through her lashes, she regretted the instant. Was she more of an impediment than she dared believe? "Mary?" His voice broke through the haze of her fatigue. "Are you?" he cut off, blinking in surprise. In that illuminating moment, Mary could see beyond the sleek exterior. She saw the weight on his shoulders. The divorce, the whispers behind closed doors. She recognized the burden of loneliness that echoed in both their lives. A fleeting grin tugged at the corner of her mouth, but her sense of inadequacy returned, tightening in her chest. She was an underpaid receptionist. He was a man who brokered fortunes. Did he harbor disdain for her weariness? As shame tinged her cheeks, she sat up straighter, hoping to mask her fatigue and insecurity. Earlier, while dropping her kids off at daycare, she'd faced the judgment of the other parents, with their designer bags and perfect lives. Now here she was, again feeling like the invisible worker bee among the elite. She inhaled deeply, pulling herself together, but the dim room of the office melted into the backdrop of her fears. "Can I help you with anything?" Mary asked, forcing cheerfulness into her words. Actually, James hesitated, regarding her carefully. "You could help me with the Anderson case. I could use a fresh pair of eyes." What did he see in her? Sharp intellect? There was no way he understood how much she struggled every day, how her mind raced just to keep up. Sure, she was bright. With passion and focus, she had flourished in the role of mother and employee, but the thought of stepping into his world of sharing space with the upper echelon was terrifying. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as her mind began to contend with the possibility of partnership, an insidious doubt crept in. Would she be treated only as a means to his success? Then she heard the whispers from her past taunts that reminded her of lowly beginnings, of faces that looked through her, not at her, like she was air. Mary felt panic rising in her chest, her breathing growing irregular. If she betrayed her fears, ventured into this high-stakes legal battle, what kind of precarious situation would she land in? She could already imagine the headlines that would mock every misstep. But just as she contemplated declining, James was gazing at her with something akin to desperation, and in that moment, she wrestled with something deeper. Could she be the strength for both of them? Another shiver of anxiety rippled through her. How could she support him when she could barely support herself? As she locked eyes with James, time twisted like a taut rope, the tension crackling between them was palpable. Mary felt the weight of that moment settle over her like a dense fog. Inwardly, she trembled on the brink of transformation, but just as she felt the pull towards something grand, an unsettling truth lingered. Each revelation could rip the fragile web of hope apart, leaving them both with nothing but the shards of their dreams. Would they fall or rise? She was magnetized to the uncertainty. Mary's heart pounded with uncertainty as she weighed her next words. Could she dare to step beyond the suffocating safety of her comfort zone? This was a man accustomed to brilliance and ambition, and here she was, standing on the precipice of a potentially life-altering decision. "Okay," she breathed, scarcely recognizing her own voice. "I will help you." Relief washed over James' features, but her own anxiety surged. What had she just committed to? The implications of her decision raced through her mind like wildfire. She imagined late nights spent poring over case details, navigating a world that had always felt blatantly out of her reach. As an underpaid receptionist with a high school diploma, Mary had spent years laboring behind the scenes, her dreams stifled beneath the weight of responsibility. But perhaps here lay the beginnings of change. Focusing on the moment, she drafted an uncharacteristically bold plan. They would meet and discuss the case over coffee tomorrow, a simple gesture, yet imbued with a newfound ambition. Could she dissect the complexities of the legal landscape? She mustered courage as she envisioned herself participating in conversations that had once felt far too daunting. The next day, Mary entered the firm's conference room, a bustling hive of energy. She felt utterly out of place among the well-dressed attorneys and their spirited discussions. Yet today, she came armed with determination rather than trepidation. She pushed down the self-doubt that had haunted her for years. This was her moment. James arrived, his presence immediate and commanding. He greeted her with a kind smile, one that cut through some of her anxiety like a warm knife through butter. They both took their seats, his calm demeanor juxtaposed with the storm of thoughts surging through her mind. "Let us tackle the Anderson case together," he began succinctly, sliding a case file between them. "I need insight. The company's financial records are a puzzle, and your perspective might just provide clarity." Mary nodded, suppressing the urgency thrumming in her veins. This was not simply about deciphering numbers, it was about finding her voice in the cacophony of elite legal jargon. She scanned the files and began to notice patterns, discrepancies that might not have registered with seasoned professionals caught in their biases. A slow smile crept across her face as the words formed in her head. "The discrepancies here suggest something deeper," she started, invigorated. "It's about more than just accounting errors. There's something off about the partnership dynamics. This looks like a deliberate attempt at obfuscation." She could see James leaning forward, intrigued. Her internal battle of fear versus liberation surged anew, but she was ready to embrace it. Her insight injected a newfound energy into the conversation, sparking back-and-forth dialogue that had her questioning not only the case but her own limits. As hours passed under the sterile, fluorescent lights, Mary felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. People began to notice, whispers of her sharp observations trickled through the hallways. The sense of competence she craved had blossomed, yet the core of her unease pulsed softly in the background. Would they still see her for what she was, an ordinary woman in extraordinary circumstances, or were they merely recognizing her as a necessity in James' climb? Each moment of success was accompanied by a riddled question about her worth. Yet, there was no denying the exhilaration coursing through her veins, pushing her toward new horizons. The fragile connection she felt to James deepened as they collaborated, and the lines between mentor and mentee blurred. Fears crept in. Could she let herself trust him? Would he still appreciate her if the tide turned and her facade shattered? As she prepared for their next meeting, holding tightly to both possibility and fear, she felt a shift within, a flicker of promise daring her to embrace her growing confidence. She was no longer merely a receptionist, she was becoming a player on this vast legal chessboard. Yet, with each calculated move in the Anderson case, the stakes felt impossibly high. What lay ahead? As she nibbled on her pencil, contemplating the ramifications of their findings, Mary realized she was about to face the real test, both professionally and emotionally. And then came the email, a grave warning from an anonymous source about James' past dealings and the hidden risks lurking in their pursuit. It dropped like a bombshell, shaking the very foundation of her newfound purpose. Was this the moment when everything she had strived to achieve could be ripped away? The realization set a chill through her bones as she drafted her response, pulse racing. What would her next move be? As the glow of her computer screen illuminated her anxious expression, Mary felt each keystroke echo inside her mind. The warning email haunted her thoughts. Was it true? Did James' past contain secrets that could destroy everything she was building? Her heart raced, not just with fear, but with a determination she had never known. With careful deliberation, she typed out her response. "Whoever you are, I need to know more about what you are insinuating." Sending it off felt like a step into the dark, but she knew retreating wasn't an option. She couldn't let herself be paralyzed by fear, she had to face this head-on. Taking a deep breath, she pushed herself away from the desk and stood up, grounding herself in the reality of her surroundings. The conference room buzzed with energy, a stark contrast to her turbulent mind. As she paced, she recalled her moments with James, which were now shrouded in uncertainty. Could he have been deceiving her all along? Or was he merely an innocent party caught up in a web of professional intrigue? The gravity of the situation was crushing yet invigorating. Each pulse of anxiety propelled her to act with intention. Mary decided she needed to confront James directly. She realized that part of her ascension into this professional world involved wrestling with the shadows that might threaten her progress. It was essential to establish trust, both with him and within herself. When she walked into their next meeting, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. James, reviewing documents, cast her a glance that ignited both excitement and apprehension. "Hey," he said, his voice laced with genuine warmth, yet she could sense an undercurrent of distraction. "James," she started slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. "We need to talk about the email I received." She could hear her own heart thundering. The air thickened around them, an electrifying mix of concern and vulnerability. His brow furrowed, and for a moment, his confidence flickered. "What email?" "The one that hints at risk, regarding your dealings." As she spoke the words, a release of pent-up feelings surged through her veins. She was no longer the terrified receptionist, she was a woman claiming her voice. His expression transitioned from surprise to intrigue, he processed her seriousness. She caught her breath, preparing herself for his reaction. He hesitated, then leaned forward, his eyes searching hers, a silent recognition passing between them. He was taking her seriously. "I understand why you'd be concerned. But let us discuss this openly." His willingness to engage invited an unexpected warmth. "You deserve to know," he continued. "Let us clarify everything so you can understand what you're getting into, including my past." The conversation unfolded with a clarity that invigorated Mary, each layer of complication peeled away slowly, revealing a man burdened by history yet striving for more. As secrets spilled like the case files around them, she sensed the advance of a deeper connection, forming a collision of shared vulnerabilities and aspirations. Mary listened intensely, absorbing his truth. She couldn't dismiss this golden opportunity to learn, not just about him, but about the boundaries of trust that would shape her own professional integrity. But deep down, an internal conflict flickered. Could she forgive him if the revelations reflected a darker narrative? Could she continue to invest emotionally in a relationship entwined with uncertainty? The thrill of the chase mingled with a faint dread, a potent cocktail that drove her development. As their dialogue deepened, she realized they were navigating uncharted waters together, tethered by ambition and an unspoken bond. Mary questioned, if James could rise past his past transgressions, could she, too, discover strength she had yet to unfurl within herself? Emerging from their discussion, Mary's heart raced with determination, feeling both liberated and vulnerable. It was clear her path was shifting, the stakes had never felt higher. Resolving to continue risking her own heart and ambitions, she knew she had to align her decisions with her values. But just as clarity began to settle, an unexpected knock at the door disrupted her thoughts. A messenger entered, holding an envelope marked with the firm's emblem. "This just came in for you, Miss Hart," he said, handing it over. Mary's pulse quickened as her fingertips brushed against the paper. What more could this signify? The moment hung suspended, charged with potential and dread. She inhaled deeply, bracing herself for whatever revelation awaited her. What if this envelope contained the truth that could change everything again? As she opened it, the uncertainty of her future intertwined with the fear of what she might find. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the letter, every crease a potential fracture in her world. The room spun in a medley of anxious colors, muffled sounds fading into the background, her entire focus drawn to the paper before her. "Dear Miss Hart," it began, the formal salutation feeling like a guillotine poised above her ambitions. It continued, detailing a request for a meeting regarding urgent matters relating to your current project and the firm's future. The message folded into itself, revealing implications she hadn't anticipated. What urgent matters were now her responsibility? Was this connected to the unsettling email? Mary's mind raced. Each line of the letter transformed the flutter in her stomach into a leaden weight. She had been building her credibility and ambition. Was it all about to crumble? And yet, a hidden fire ignited within her. Her pursuit of truth demanded action. She wouldn't allow fear to paralyze her. Without hesitation, she glanced at James, whose focus had momentarily shifted from the documents to her. I just received a letter requesting a meeting with someone important from the firm. It feels premature, but I can't ignore it. His brows knitted together, assessing the implication. That sounds serious. Who are you meeting? The question hung heavily, festering doubts swirling around their earlier conversation. I don't know, she confessed, her voice betraying a hint of vulnerability. But it seems pivotal to our progress, and it means I need to figure out how to navigate this. I'm here for you, James declared, sincerity etched on his face. Let us prepare. We need to ensure you're ready for whatever they throw at you. This could be a turning point. His offer of support sent a tremor through her. For the first time, she felt the full possibility of Claire's eventual ascent, not only through the workings of her ambition but through a partnership grounded in resilience. She flipped the paper over, suddenly eager to confront the firm's judgment and the risks they threatened to impose. Tomorrow morning, then, Mary affirmed, her resolve hardening. I want to come into this meeting equipped. We'll strategize. Every nuance matters. I need to be prepared. That prospect solidified her purpose, igniting a determination she had lacked earlier. She saw herself not as a mere receptionist at the mercy of the firm but as a pivotal player capable of impressive change. The feelings swirling between them mixed uneasily with sharper clarity. She needed to separate her emotions from the task ahead. Later that evening, she sank into an armchair at home, hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea. Images of the past week flashed before her, moments of doubt, her growing bond with James, and the dread that loomed over their next course of action. But within that chaos remained a thread of strength. Mary had not only opened herself to James, she had revealed cracks in the walls she had built. Instead of fearing them, she knew they were now essential to her fabric. Through the mirror of their shared vulnerabilities, she discovered the opportunity to expand her own sense of self. Each challenge was an invitation to develop resilience and fortitude. Time drifted into the night, and though sleep evaded her, clarity took root in her heart. The next meeting wasn't just with some firm authority, it was a direct confrontation with her growth. She could feel it. This was her time. As dawn painted the sky in shades of opportunity, Mary was ready, steeling herself for the meeting that could ultimately define her. Resolving to uphold the boundaries of integrity she had newly carved, she clutched the letter one more time. How deeply intertwined her fate was with James' past remained to be seen, but she would not shy away from the truth any longer. The moment she walked into that meeting, she recognized she held the power to reshape their narrative. But as her phone buzzed with a message from James, the weight of her realization was momentarily eclipsed. Meet me before the meeting? I have something important to share. What could James possibly reveal that would further complicate her path forward? A familiar knot twisted in her stomach as she contemplated their impending face-off. The dim light of the cafe flickered as Mary slid into a booth, her heart pounding beneath the weight of anticipation. She had only a few minutes to brace herself for whatever revelation James was about to share. It felt like standing at the edge of a precipice with the winds of uncertainty blowing fiercely around her. James arrived moments later, his expression a mix of urgency and apprehension. He slid into the seat across from her, and for a brief moment, they locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Thanks for meeting me, he started, his voice low. I didn't know how to tell you this over text. Mary nodded, urging him on with her gaze. The weight of his presence and the impending conversation pressed against her chest. What is it? James took a deep breath. I overheard something yesterday about the firm's future plans. There's going to be a major restructuring, and they're considering cutting certain projects. Your current project is one of them. The gravity of his words hit her like a wave. She felt her body tense, but she willed herself to respond calmly. They can't cut mine. I've invested too much, she managed to say, even as doubt crept in. The thought of her hard work unraveling strained her resolve. "There's more," James continued, his intensity sharpening. "I think it ties back to what's been happening with us. If they see you as a player in this game, if we put our heads together before your meeting, we might be able to sway their opinion. Are you suggesting we present ourselves as more than just cogs in the machine?" Mary asked, her tone wavering between disbelief and intrigue. "Exactly. If we come armed with facts and a compelling vision, we can change the narrative. We need to show them our project's value and what we can bring to the firm," he urged, his voice firm with conviction. Mary felt a surge of adrenaline. This was a critical moment of realization. This was a fork in her path. She could either cower under looming threats or embrace the challenge head-on. In that instant, a plan began to form in her mind. The quicksilver of her initial fear faded, replaced instead by a sense of clarity. "What do you have in mind?" she asked, determined to channel her inner strength into constructive action. "Let us gather data on how your project has positively impacted the firm. We'll highlight its potential for further growth. If we can amplify its importance, it'll be harder for them to dismiss it," he detailed, quickening with excitement. Mary nodded, her mind racing. As the conversation unfurled, she found herself clicking into gear, her analytical mind dissecting possibilities and carving out routes previously obscured by anxiety. Her life had always been about finding a path, digging deeper into uncertainty, but now, she was at the helm of her own ship. "Let us set up a timeline," she said, her voice filled with newfound clarity. "We need to work fast, James. We have until tomorrow morning to present an unassailable case." Their discussion turned into a furious planning session. Ideas bounced between them, fueling a partnership that had only begun to scratch the surface of its potential. Tools were lined up piece by piece, strategies meticulously crafted, and for each question laid before them, Mary discovered answers that reflected her hidden talents. As they spoke, Mary felt a transformation within herself. It was no longer the desperate need to cling to the familiar that propelled her. Now, it was the thrill of possibility and awakening of her inner strength ignited by collaboration and vision. But the clock was ticking, and with each passing minute, the impending meeting loomed larger. Just as they finalized their outline, her phone buzzed again, another message from the firm. "Can we meet earlier than planned? There are updates concerning your project." A shiver ran down her spine. The firm was not waiting for her, they were driving the agenda. Did they already know about the restructuring? As panic threatened to encroach again, Mary steadied her breath. This was the crucial moment she had been preparing for. The truth was within reach. But was she truly ready to confront the tides of fate that had shifted so dramatically overnight? What awaited her in that boardroom? Mary sat in her car, the engine idling as she stared out the windshield, her breath catching in her throat. The message from the firm still echoed in her mind, amplifying the tension that twisted around her thoughts. The earlier meeting was not just an inconvenience, it was a spotlight on uncertainty, forcing her to confront the reality of her work and its potential demise. In that moment of solitude, she took stock of the whirlwind of emotions and ideas spinning inside her. James had ignited a spark in her, and now she felt the heavy weight of that expectation pressing down on her shoulders. Could she truly stand up in that boardroom and advocate for her project, challenge seasoned professionals, and reshape the narrative that had been dictated for so long? With each heartbeat, she recognized the urgency of her situation and along with it, the need to harness her inner resolve. Taking a deep breath, she disciplined her mind. "You've done it before, Mary," she whispered to herself. "You can do it again." Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter, the leather cool against her palms grounding her in the moment. As she parked and approached the building, thoughts flashed through her mind like a rapid-fire reel: what to emphasize, what figures to present, how to position herself as a leader rather than merely a contributor. Inside, she navigated the maze of cubicles and conference rooms, her confident strides contrasting with the flutter of anxiety that lingered in her stomach. She'd spent years learning the intricacies of her project, embracing its flaws and triumphs alike. In the boardroom, the atmosphere intensified with anticipation. Her colleagues sat around the long table, faces serious, every pencil poised ready for notes. The division head, a man known for his critical lens and low tolerance for weakness, glanced at her as she entered. For a brief moment, doubt began to seep in. Would they even listen to her? James met her gaze from across the table, a supportive nod lifting her spirits. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his belief meld with her own burgeoning confidence. This was more than a presentation, it was a declaration of resilience. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor it carried within. "I understand that there have been recent discussions regarding project streamlining. Today, I'm here to present the undeniable value that our current project brings to the firm, as well as its potential for future growth." Mary launched into her carefully crafted presentation, delivering insights with an infused passion. She highlighted the successes already achieved, weaving stories of collaboration, late nights, and the fruits of creativity and dedication that her team contributed. With every data point she presented, she felt her thoughts crystallize and the early whispers of doubt dissolve under the clear cloud of her passion. But as she delved deeper, she sensed the scrutinizing gaze of the division head sharpening, assessing every word, every slip, every triumph. The atmosphere thickened, and her mind raced to anticipate objections he might raise. "This project brings tangible results," she pressed on, presenting projections for the next quarter, accompanied by testimonials from team members who had poured their energy into its development. And then it came a question from the man she hoped to persuade. "You speak of growth, but what contingency plans do you have in place if we move forward with these adjustments? What guarantees can you provide that this will not be a wasted effort?" The boardroom fell silent, the weight of his inquiry hanging in the air like a storm cloud. All eyes were on her now, and for a moment, she felt the rush of doubt threaten to overshadow her. Would she crumble under the pressure, or would she rise to this challenge? Mary locked eyes with him, drawing on the depth of her expertise and the clarity she solidified in her planning sessions. "I believe in this project. It is adaptable and resilient. We've already mapped out contingencies based on market conditions, and we're committed to agile execution. My faith in our team and our vision will drive us to succeed, no matter the challenges we face." She saw a flicker of intrigue in his expression, the tide of perception beginning to shift. But just as she sensed a breakthrough, the firm's CEO entered the room, exuding an aura of authority that wrapped around them all. "I need to address something critical regarding our restructuring plans." Mary's heart raced as she anticipated the implications of his words, her mind racing once again. The outcome of this meeting could change everything she had worked for. Would she manage to secure her project's future against overwhelming odds, or would the ground beneath her feet once again shift in unforeseen directions? The moment of truth was close at hand. As the CEO's voice cut through the air, Mary felt the weight of every gaze in the room pressing down on her. "Our restructuring plans," he continued, "are designed to optimize our resources, streamline operations, and enhance our competitive edge." The words were authoritative, yet the implications sent a chill down her spine. It felt as if the very foundation of her team's project was being scrutinized. She forced herself to breathe deeply, focusing on maintaining the composure that had begun to waver. This was her moment, not just for her project but for the path she had carved over the years. As Mr. Roberts discussed budget cuts and departmental reallocations, Mary realized this was not merely a matter of numbers, it was a test of her agility and vision. Would she allow herself to retreat into the shadows, or would she confront this challenge head-on? Rising to the moment, she thought of the countless hours spent analyzing data, strategizing with her team, and refining the project's core values. They had built something impactful, and now it was time to defend it. With a quick glance at James, she summoned the courage to speak again, her voice steadying through sheer determination. "Mr. Roberts, while I appreciate the need for careful resource allocation, I urge you to consider the potential of our project within this restructuring. What we are proposing isn't just an expense, it's a strategic investment that can yield significant returns." Mary felt her energy shift. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about seizing the opportunity to elevate her work and her position within the company. The weight of her words lingered in the air as she laid out her evidence once more, connecting the vision of her project with the firm's broader objectives. She presented case studies demonstrating previous successes, and with each slide, she could see nods of comprehension and even approval among her colleagues. Her passion seemed to resonate, breaking through the cloud of doubt that had settled in. Yet, the division head continued to dissect her claims, now more insistent. While enthusiasm is commendable, we need cold, hard data. What metrics are we measuring success against? Can you provide actionable KPIs that prove this will work as promised? Mary's heart raced again, but this time from exhilaration rather than fear. The challenge wasn't a blockade, it was fuel adding to the fire she had ignited. Absolutely, she replied, her confidence growing. We have developed a comprehensive framework of KPIs tailored to each phase of our project. I can provide detailed reports on every facet, from customer engagement to profitability projections. This ensures that every step we take is measurable and accountable. As she switched to the KPI slides, she noticed a shift among her peers. The once skeptical glances turned to a mix of intrigue and curiosity. The division head seemed to relax slightly, likely recognizing the rigor in her arguments. However, just as she thought her momentum had solidified, an unexpected voice chimed in from the end of the table. Mary, you're presenting a great case, but if you're confident about these projections, will you take personal responsibility for their outcomes? If this fails, how will you hold yourself accountable? The question hung ominously in the air. It was a gauntlet thrown down, casting doubt on her resolve and capabilities. Dread filled her as she contemplated the enormity of that commitment. Could she indeed stake her reputation on this project's success? But deep within, a seed of resolve began to sprout. She had faced adversities before, and this was merely another dimension of the challenge. I will own every responsibility that comes with this project, she stated firmly, looking directly at him. My team and I have built this with our collective investment of time and passion. I believe in our ability to innovate and adapt. As tension mounted in the boardroom, silence engulfed them after her declaration. Every eye bore into her, a blend of awe and doubt, and she wondered if she had gone too far. But instead of regret, empowerment surged through her veins. This moment could redefine her role, enhance her authority, and solidify her path forward. Just then, Mr. Roberts spoke up, drawing everyone's attention back to him. All right, let us discuss the next steps. I believe we need to take a closer look at all departments involved. In that instant, Mary understood, clearer than before, that her fight had only just begun. Would the CEO's decisions bolster her resolve or dismantle her aspirations? She sensed a turning point unfolding, one that could either unleash her potential or shut her down entirely. Somewhere between opportunity and peril lay the path of her future. She would need to navigate this precarious terrain carefully, determined to maximize every ounce of her newfound determination as the stakes soared. How far would she have to go to secure her vision? The journey had only just begun. As Mary left the boardroom, the adrenaline still coursed through her veins, battles between anxiety and exhilaration raged within her. The confidence she had unearthed was a fragile thing, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being exposed. The gauntlet had been thrown down and she stepped over it. The leadership scrutiny would only intensify. James caught up to her in the hallway, his expression unreadable. What you did in there was bold, he remarked, a hint of apprehension lacing his words. But can you really shoulder that responsibility alone? You know how cutthroat it can get. Her heart sank. Was he questioning her conviction? I mean every word I said, James, she replied, sounding more assertive than she felt. We crafted something worthwhile. It's time we champion it, not just for ourselves but for the company. I get that, he said, nodding slowly, but don't forget the stakes. If you fail, they won't just blame the project. They'll blame you. His gaze was steady, almost cautioning her against her own ambition. The weight of that possibility loomed over her like dark clouds, but instead of retreating under the threat of potential failure, she felt a burgeoning resolve. If she were to fail, she would do so having fought for her vision with every tool at her disposal. Then I need to prepare, she said, determination solidifying her voice. Over the next few days, Mary immersed herself in her project, poring over every piece of data and refining her strategy. She worked late nights, focused intensely on clarifying the KPIs, aligning them with not just her department's goals but the entire company's mission. She sought insights from colleagues, nurturing connections that had previously languished. Each conversation added a layer of understanding, illuminating how interdependencies among departments could create synergies she hadn't fully recognized before. Yet, in navigating this newfound ambition, there was a part of her that wrestled with self-doubt. Was she truly capable of leading this charge? When the thought whisked through her mind, Mary would grasp her notebook tightly, flipping to pages filled with ideas and plans. The reminders of her prior successes soothed her. She had earned this right through the labor of her own ambition. That Friday, as she prepared for the follow-up meeting with Mr. Roberts and the division heads, she experienced a moment of clarity. While staring at a presentation slide, she thought about her own accountability not just as a professional, but personally. Holding herself responsible was about integrity and ownership, not merely passing judgment on outcomes. A sudden knock interrupted her thoughts, and as she looked up, she found Karen, the head of marketing, standing in the doorway, hesitantly shifting her weight. "Hey, I've been thinking about your project," Karen started, her tone uncertain. "I have some ideas that might help with the marketing angle if you're interested." Mary's heart raced. This was not just helpful, it was crucial collaboration. "Absolutely. I'd love to hear them." They dove into brainstorming sessions, Karen's contagious enthusiasm contrasting with Mary's more calculated approach, yet somehow they melded seamlessly. The synergy between them bubbled to life, ideas flowed, strategies sharpened, and the passion behind their mission electrified the room. As the days turned into a week filled with collaborative meetings, Mary began to see beyond mere survival. They were on the threshold of creating something innovative. However, as they prepared to present their unified vision next week, an uneasy feeling settled within her. What if the division heads dismissed their hard work? What if Mr. Roberts didn't understand their strategic implications? The fear of rejection popped like a bubble over her thoughts. She couldn't afford to falter now. The night before the presentation, rest eluded her as she paced her apartment, practicing her pitch to an imaginary audience. Suddenly, the weight of her commitment dawned on her again. Could she truly lead this initiative, transform doubt into belief? In that moment of dawning realization, she found her answer. She would not back down, she was ready to face her fears head-on. The question remained, would her vision resonate with the decision-makers, or would the looming shadows of uncertainty obscure her ambitions? Dawn would bring more than just a new day, it would present an ultimatum for her growth. The moment of truth awaited her, she could either rise or fade away. What would her next move reveal? As the sun began to break over the horizon, the golden light spilled into Mary's apartment, illuminating the pages scattered across her dining table. Her heart thundered in her chest as she reviewed the justification for every aspect of their proposal. The numbers danced in her head, the potential was staggering, yet the stakes felt impossibly high. This was it, her moment to either thrive or merely exist. The faint sound of her phone vibrating on the table interrupted her thoughts. It was a message from James. "Need to talk before your meeting." Important. A knot formed in her stomach. Was this another cautionary note? She inhaled deeply, sensing the growing challenge within her. It was one thing to be bold in a presentation, it was another to continuously defend her vision. The stakes were rising, and this uncertainty required something different from her. Gathering her notes, Mary slipped her shoes on and set out, determined to assert control over the day. The office buzzed with energy when she arrived, the excitement palpable. The air hummed with anticipation. The division heads were gearing up for a pivotal week. She spotted James pacing near the coffee machine, his brow furrowed. "Mary," he said, urgency threading through his voice as soon as she approached. "I hope you're ready. I can't help but feel there are too many risks. What if they dismiss your ideas for being too ambitious?" Her instincts flared, the familiar pang of doubt threatening to consume her. That's why I've collaborated with Karen. We've developed a robust plan that showcases not only creativity but also executable strategies. We're prepared for tough questions, she stated, her voice firm yet quivering slightly with the weight of her conviction. James's eyes narrowed as he considered her words. "Collaboration's great, but in the end, they're going to look to you. Just remember, this is your vision. Own it fully. I will, she replied, her resolve sharpening like a blade. I won't be afraid to stand up for what I believe in. The minutes dragged into hours as she led the presentation. Every face in the room was a mask of scrutiny, and yet, as she shared her vision, she felt the passion behind her words breached the confines of fear. She spoke about the company's potential, the need to adapt, and the value inherent in their collaborative vision. Each slide brought nods of approval, each point raised was met with curiosity. The dynamic energy of the room invigorated her. This wasn't just her fight anymore, it was a collective future. But just when she felt an exhilarating surge of confidence, a voice snapped through the excitement like a thunderclap. Do you really believe that this idea can deliver the results we need? It was Jason, the head of operations, notorious for his skepticism. Mary's heart sank. She had anticipated probing questions but not outright dismissal. Her mind raced, scrambling for a response that would keep the momentum alive. Yes, her voice broke through the tension. We've analyzed market trends and aligned this initiative with both current demands and future projections. This isn't just faith, it's backed by data and collaborative input. Jason leaned back, his gaze unconvinced. The air thickened. The atmosphere shifted, charges of disbelief crackling around the room. She looked to Karen, who mirrored her resolve, but the burden of defense now rested solely on her shoulders. Every moment that passed felt heavier. What if their hard work crumbled under pressure? Her mind echoed James's caution. Could she shoulder this alone? I believe we can pivot expectations and drive growth, she continued, each word manifesting the conviction she was scarcely feeling. A flicker of doubt remained, but it strengthened her determination. But more importantly, I trust our team. They're not just executing a plan, we are leading a transformation. At that moment, the chatter began anew, voices stirring with energy. It was infectious, an uprising against the shadows that had once threatened to envelop her ambition. In the following minutes, the discussions deepened into opportunity, and overwhelming uncertainty began to lift. The meeting swelled with idea exchanges, with Mary navigating through the conversations, her composure strengthening with every added voice. As the meeting concluded, Mary felt an unfamiliar fullness, a blend of relief and emerging triumph. She had transformed doubt into a rallying call, overcoming the stagnation of indecision. But the tension lingered. She had weathered the first storm, yet others would surely follow. With each passing moment, the realization dawned upon her that this was just the beginning. She had ignited passion within her team, and now, she needed to harness that energy into outcomes. Would she be able to maintain this momentum, or would the doubts return to upend her progress? Mary exited the room, the adrenaline still pulsing in her veins. The thrill of guiding her project stayed with her, yet a looming question remained. Could she continue to defy expectations as the pressures mounted? The next challenge would push her resolve further than she could imagine. Mary stood before the skyline of the city, a magnificent tapestry of hope and ambition. Just a week ago, she had entered the boardroom with a tremor of fear cascading through her. Today, she felt the solidity of accomplishment coursing within her, a confidence built on the shoulders of her dedication and hard work. The meeting had paved the way for securing her project's continuation, but the real victory was realizing her own potential. As the sun cast vivid colors across the horizon, Mary had emerged from uncertainty, her assertions and artistry finally being recognized. The executives had not only approved her ideas, they had applauded her vision. They noted her strategic foresight and collaborative spirit as essential to the firm's growth. This moment marked a pivotal point in her career. Now she carried the title of project lead, and her perspective was sought after, not just tolerated. In her new role, Mary cultivated a renewed sense of agency. She designed initiatives that inspired her colleagues, fostering an environment where creativity and problem-solving synergized. The apprehension she once felt when presenting shifted into anticipation. This was her domain, a realm where her insights held merit and where her former identity as just an employee faded in the wake of her evolving professional stature. Yet, amidst her triumph, the genuine relationship with James transformed significantly as well. Their dynamic evolved from mentor-mentee to partners uniquely tethered by challenges and breakthroughs. They found solace in shared late-night discussions strategizing the next phases of their project, delving into the nuances of legal intricacies, and algorithmically deciphering client needs. This ascent molded not just her career but also rekindled something deeper between them, a genuine partnership rooted in mutual respect and ambition. It wasn't long before the firm announced a networking event, spotlighting top performers. The day arrived, and Mary stood before the mirror, adjusting her outfit with an empowered gaze. This was another arena to conquer, but this time, she walked in knowing her worth. No longer obscured by insecurity, she engaged with executives and peers, sharing insights and eager to learn from their experiences. Conversations flowed with ease, compliments regarding her accomplishments were interspersed with her engagements, and for the first time, she allowed herself to bask in recognition and acknowledgement of her growth and success. As the evening unfolded, a defining moment arrived when Mr. Roberts approached her, the firm's CEO. "Mary," he began, a tone of genuine admiration in his voice, "your ability to advocate for the project demonstrated not just competence but leadership. We are grateful for your contributions." His words resonated like a powerful affirmation, shattering the shackles of self-doubt that had once muted her voice. In that instant, she provided him with her vision for future projects and the company's direction, articulating with a newfound clarity and confidence that left no room for second-guessing. When Mary finally made her way home that night, the city sprawled beneath her, illuminated with vibrant energy. She reflected on the obstacles she had transcended, those that once held her captive in positions of subservience. She felt tremendous pride in her journey, recognizing the strength she had unearthed when she transformed fear into action, uncertainty into conviction. With a solid foundation beneath her feet, Mary now envisioned her future concretely. She was designing a legacy not just for her career but in forming the next generation of leaders who might need guidance. Her desire to mentor others, particularly women navigating similar challenges, began to blossom. No longer was she just a participant in the professional discourse, she was ready to write her own narrative. As she nestled into bed, a deep sense of fulfillment enveloped her. She had anchored herself in self-awareness and growth. Mary knew she could conquer the next challenges, not only as a capable professional, but as a visionary leader who would continue to redefine her story. Now is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories, because this journey is just beginning. Your support is crucial, so leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your appreciation for these inspiring narratives. I want to hear your thoughts, so comment below with your reactions and theories about Mary's transformation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. True fans of personal transformation understand the importance of supporting stories that empower and uplift.